Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking you inside the Church of Cignetti, courtesy of parishioner Rick Neuheisel. You want quiet? You want quiet in here?
Always
unbelievable.
The proper decorum when inside a cathedral. And right now, it's a cathedral in Bloomington, Indiana. This is a remarkable story. Cignetti, who learned his craft with Nick Saban. Obviously, his dad was a coach, too, so he grew up as a coach. But when you go to Saban's house, you end up learning the Saban way of building the process. Yes.
Okay.
So for those who
waiting to catch it.
For those who are looking for a new church,
yes,
I found you one.
Yeah.
The Church of Cignetti.
And how dominant they were against Nebraska in their last game. They haven't trailed all season. It's his first year on the job. I know he's 62. He didn't become a head coach till he was 50. But they just ran all over Nebraska, AT. And were you a little surprised? I know it was at home.
Nebraska hadn't given up a rushing touchdown all season long, and they finished their first opening drive with that. But it was a score fest. They ran the football on them coming into this game. Nebraska was only giving up 11 points per game, and they did 5 times that today. You did see Rourke with the thumb injury.
Ooh.
He had to leave the game. He was replaced by Taven Bryant or Jackson. He didn't come back, but that didn't stop this offense.
Yeah, they made it sound like that was more of a precautionary move, but even without him, BJ, I mean, it was a blowout.
Well, listen, let me just confess. I've been a heathen because I have doubted this football team. Even going up against Nebraska, I doubted them. You see what they did. Demolish the Cornhuskers and their black shirt defense. They should be paying tithe to Coach Cignetti and the Hoosiers for making them look so bad. I mean, that was horrible, but it's not just the offense, the defense. They're top 10 in everything. Rush defense, pass defense, total defense. As far as conference rankings, they're at the top. And what has helped Coach Cignetti and the Hoosiers thus far this season is bringing all those guys from JMU. They helped build this culture. They helped coach those other guys who weren't aware of what Cignetti, what he wanted, his approach. So when you have that many transfers that come in with you from your former institution.
They were the missionaries in this?
They were the missionaries. Thank you.
The college football world might now be waking up to what's going on in Bloomington. We were aware of this, and he was aware of this long before. He spent a month when getting this new job building a roster. He brought 13 guys with him, which immediately changed the culture in that locker room. And then he got some key pieces, Curtis Rourke being maybe the key.
From the MAC,
most important, the quarterback. And now he's got a team that is doing exactly what he wants them to do. They all understand they're not wasting time.
Right. Well,
they're doing it his way, and it is working.
And he had some polarizing comments early on. 1, Google me, I'm a winner. 2, those other schools, they're nothing. But he didn't say that because he disrespected the Ohio States, the Michigans of the world. He wanted to let his charges in that locker room know, hey, here are my expectations. Now let's go meet those expectations.
And so what is that culture that allows, again, James Madison was great, but players from James Madison aren't supposed to beat up on players from the Big Ten along with whoever else was there and who he brought in, AT. What is the culture that Curt Cignetti has established here?
One of toughness, and it's one where the level of expectation is elevated. When you're at JMU and you have the season that they had last year, you know what it looks like to win. You also inversely know what it looks like to not win, so you can compare and contrast. Most of those players inside of Indiana's locker room didn't know what it's like to win. They don't know when to push. They don't know when to go hard. But you have this nucleus that comes over with Coach Cignetti from JMU, as you two have alluded to. Now you're already starting off on second base in terms of turning the culture.
Right.
Now those players are elevating everybody else around them. And the reason we're seeing the culture of this team with Indiana compared to the cash flow of NIL, where people want to get sugar high and just get all the empty calories into their locker room. It may work one year for Florida State. It may not work so well the next year. So he has done it the right way. He sets the tone. Everybody followed in suit. Now those players that stayed on Indiana's roster, now they instantly know what it takes.
He brought a foundation with him. We keep harping on the fact he brought so many guys with him from JMU. That was the foundation. And they baptized the rest of that locker room, man. That's essentially what they did. And when I'll say this, Rick, and I'll let you join in here, but when the players are holding each other accountable and they're Coach Cignetti and those other guys on the staff don't have to, that's when you know you're cooking with gas.
There's no question it's a culture of accountability. I totally agree with that. And he was also the benefactor of a great schedule. This schedule allowed him to build into this where all of a sudden confidence came along, and now this team really believes they can play, and today was evident.
And I want to go now forward on the schedule, right?
Washington.
What is ahead? What is the ceiling for this team? What do you guys think?
Well, they're sitting there as an undefeated team right now. You can see Washington next. They'll be favored in that game. That's in Bloomington. Michigan State, I think they're on the road for that one. Then in comes Michigan. If they can get through those 3 games, it doesn't matter what happens at Ohio State.
Yeah.
They'll be a college football playoff team.
And the Spartans and Buckeyes, those are the road games. We've got the Ats over there.
And here's Indiana in its entire history has never won 10 ball games. Never won 10 ball games. And I'm sure everyone in that locker room was mindful of that fact.
And I'll say this. Like, as much as we want to poo-poo, and there were old school guys like me that want to see the integrity of the game stay what it was, the reason Indiana's allowed to elevate is because of the transfer portal. It's because of NIL. It's because of teams being able and players being able to switch and be immediately eligible. We've never seen that before, BJ, but we're about to start to see it. The great leveling has started to occur.
Free
where
agency.
The talent gets spread out, and Indiana is one of the biggest beneficiaries.
It's also happening because there is more access to championship football. There's a chance to be in the playoff. There are 12 teams now given an opportunity. So as you're looking for places to go play, utilizing that transfer portal, now you have an opportunity to go to places, especially in the SEC or Big Ten, which are going to get multiple spots. If we go there and play well, we can get there. And that's exactly what they're talking about. And it's not a basketball tournament. It's a football tournament that they're going to be a part of.
Deacon Neuheisel, can we schedule my baptism? I've bought in.
You want to be doused in the waters?
Yes.
Is another undefeated team where it was expected they would be among the elite, but they are the cardiac Canes right now. I mean, the review against Virginia Tech, the targeting that wasn't called against Cal, right, on the West Coast game, and then it got
What
super
targeting?
Fine,
Let it go.
But it got super interesting against Louisville again, another close game for Miami.
This is the most prolific offense in Miami history to start the season. It's incredible what they've done, and this guy right here, Cam Ward, is the big reason why. This game was Miami's, but then all of a sudden Louisville said, I'm coming back, and Colin Lacey takes a kickoff back 100 yards to get them back into the game, Adam. But this is the point where you're talking about. Miami's yet to prove that they can put teams away.
But they were still resilient. They have that kickoff return on them. They fumble the next possession. Louisville ties it up, and here comes Cam.
He is
who's
so
cooler
calm.
than a polar bear's toenail.
Oh.
Look at that to Restrepo. And they're going to stop him short of the goal line, but you got Restrepo on that offense. You got Damian Martinez at running back who transferred from Oregon State. They have the dudes.
You got Michael Irvin on the
that are
sideline.
similar to that dude on that offensive side of the ball. Defense needs to play better, but as long as you got Cam, and they have fortunate that this was called an incomplete pass instead of a fumble, or maybe they
were just letting that one go, I think.
It's easy to say that a quarterback is the change in a program, and that's certainly the case with Cam Ward, but it's more than just him being a terrific quarterback.
Look at Martinez.
He personifies the Miami of old. He has that swagger. He has that cachet that is magic, and everybody's following, whether it be the antics that he has after a touchdown pass, whether it be the chemistry that he has with Restrepo. This guy is like he would have been a perfect teammate back in those Miami championship teams.
Because it's one thing to have that swagger, but you got to produce.
And
so calm.
No team in the country benefits more than the alliance of their alumni versus the and the team that's currently playing, and you can see them together right now. Everybody who was a Cane wants to be back on this sideline watching this. Michael Irvin, Exhibit A. This is magic.
Personification of the U, that swagger, that calm.
Boom.
But they need to match that on the defensive side of the ball, because you cannot give up 45
they're vulnerable.
points.
They're vulnerable, as they show every time they play. But this is really fun to watch this kid just becoming the Miami of old.
There's no question about it. Something that's interesting to me, just like we talked about Indiana, is that this Miami team's had a pretty easy schedule. You look at their back half of the schedule, they don't have a ranked team on it. So one of the things that we're seeing with the expansion of these conferences is the fact that there's schedule inequity. Some teams are going to get really tough schedules. Other teams are going to have cakewalks, and that is going to start to play a factor in our sport. And here in year one, the first year of the 12-team playoff, Miami and Indiana are both beneficiaries.
One thing we can say about schedules, though, it's never really factored into the College Football Playoff Committee's thinking. They've always just gone with records. They really don't pay that much attention.
Well, except for the team we saw on that graphic last year with Florida State.
Yeah.
Who was perfect.
No, that was only because Alabama had beaten Georgia. They had to be in it, and because they had to be in, Texas had to be in because Texas had beaten Alabama.
Multiple factors. I'm just saying, Florida State was undefeated. This year, they just lost the Duke. They got one win.
Entertainment factor.
End of the year, though, Miami at Syracuse.
Yeah.
That could be the one. That could be the one.
That could be the one. What?
Well, I was just going to say that it's not what your record is based on the easy schedule.
Okay, that's enough.
It allows you to build the confidence that you can push strong at the end because that's going to be a factor.
People at home wondering why you went, it's because someone told him to shut up.
To say.
My contract says 7 comments for 60 seconds.
Total.